Black-Eyed Children, Texas, 1996, late night. Brian Bethel sat alone in his parked car outside a movie theater, writing a check by the dim interior light. Just a normal evening, nothing unusual. Then two boys appeared at his window. He didn't see them walk up, didn't hear footsteps. They were just suddenly there, staring at him through the glass, maybe 10 or 12 years old. They asked for a ride to their mother's house to get money. Brian almost said yes. His hand moved toward the door lock, a helpful impulse, automatic. Then the fear hit. Not gradual unease, not a creeping feeling, a tidal wave of pure primal terror that slammed into him like a physical force. His hand froze on the lock. Every muscle in his body screamed danger. He looked up at them, really looked, and that's when he saw their eyes. Completely black, no white, no iris, no pupil, just solid, endless black, like staring into empty space. "Let us in," one of them said, voice flat and wrong. "We can't come in unless you say it's okay." The other one nodded slowly, mechanically. "Our parents will be worried." Brian's heart hammered against his ribs. Every instinct he had was screaming at him to get away. Not to argue, not to ask questions, just go. He stammered some excuse, started his engine with shaking hands, and drove off. When he looked back in his rearview mirror, the parking lot was empty. The boys were gone. No trace, just asphalt and streetlights. What were they? And why do they keep coming back? Let me back up and tell you what these things actually are. The Black-Eyed Children. They're one of the most disturbing modern urban legends. And here's why. They don't act like ghosts or demons or anything obviously supernatural. They look almost human, almost. And that almost is what makes them absolutely terrifying. There are hundreds of reports spanning decades, and the details are eerily, impossibly consistent. They're described as children between 6 and 16 years old with completely black eyes. Not dark brown, not dilated pupils, solid black across the entire eye, like looking into a void. Some witnesses say their eyes absorb light rather than reflect it. Their skin is usually pale, grayish, and almost wax-like, corpse-like, some say. Their clothing is often outdated or just slightly wrong for the time period. Plain hoodies, old-fashioned outfits, sometimes too clean, sometimes strangely formal. But the most disturbing detail, their voices, flat, monotone, emotionless. Sometimes they are too mature for their apparent age, like someone reading lines off a script. And here's the part that sends chills down your spine. They need permission. They knock on doors. They approach cars. They stand outside windows. They ask for help. They ask to come inside. But they never force entry. They wait. They ask. They insist. But they need you to say yes. Sound familiar? It's straight out of vampire lore. The idea that certain entities cannot enter without invitation. Except these aren't vampires. They're something else. Something deliberate. Something patient. Every encounter follows the same pattern. It's not random. It's a script they seem to follow every single time. First, sudden appearance. Witnesses report they just appear. No footsteps approaching. No sound. One moment you're alone. The next, they're standing there. Second, a polite request. "We need help. Let us in. Can we use your phone?" Always courteous at first. Third, emotional manipulation. They say things designed to trigger guilt or sympathy. "It's cold outside. Our parents will be worried. We just need to make one call." Fourth, increasing insistence. If you hesitate or refuse, their tone changes. It becomes more urgent, more aggressive. The politeness cracks. Fifth, Eye contact triggers absolute terror. This is reported again and again. The moment witnesses make eye contact, they experience immediate, overwhelming dread. Not uncertainty, not gradual fear, instant panic, adrenaline spike. Fight or flight response kicked into overdrive. Sixth, they leave if refused. They never break in physically. They just stand there, or they walk away into darkness, gone, without a trace. The psychological response is what gets me. Witnesses describe it the same way, every time. They say it felt like every cell in their body was screaming danger, like standing on the edge of a cliff, like staring down a predator. A certainty deep in their bones that letting these children inside would be fatal. And the phrases they use are identical across encounters separated by years and thousands of miles. We can't come in unless you let us. It's cold outside. Our parents will be worried. We need to use your phone. All delivered in that same rehearsed, emotionless tone, like actors who learned their lines but forgot how to be human. This scripted behavior isn't random. It suggests intentional hunting, a method, a trap. So let's go back to Brian Bethel because his story is where this all started. Brian wasn't some anonymous internet user. He was a professional journalist working in Abilene, Texas. In 1996, he had an experience that would launch the modern black-eyed children legend into the cultural consciousness. He was sitting in his car outside a movie theater late at night, writing a check for his internet bill. The drop box was right there in the parking lot. Simple errand. He'd be home in minutes. That's when two boys appeared at his driver's side window. He didn't see them approach. One moment the parking lot was empty. The next, they were there, pale faces pressed close to the glass. They knocked, polite. One of them spoke. "We want to see a movie, but we left our money at our mother's house. Can you give us a ride?" Brian's first instinct was to help. They were just kids. It was late. They seemed polite enough. He reached for the door lock. Then it hit him. A wave of fear so intense it physically stopped him. His hand froze mid-reach. His entire body locked up. Something was wrong. He looked up at them again, trying to figure out what his subconscious had detected. That's when he noticed their eyes, solid black, completely black. No variation, no light, like someone had painted over them with glossy ink. The fear intensified. It wasn't rational, it was primal, survival instinct screaming at him in a language older than words. The boy spoke again, more insistent this time. "Let us in. We can't get in unless you tell us we can. Come on, mister. We need to get to our mother's house." The other boy just stared, didn't blink, didn't move. Brian stammered something, an excuse, anything. He started his car, hands shaking so badly he could barely grip the wheel. "We need to come in," the first boy said, voice rising slightly. "Let us in." Brian threw the car into reverse and drove away, heart slamming against his ribs, breath coming in short gasps. He looked in his rearview mirror. The parking lot was empty. The boys were gone, vanished, no sign they'd ever been there. Brian went public with his story. As a journalist, he documented every detail he could remember. His account was credible, detailed, and deeply unsettling. It spread quickly, and soon others started coming forward with their own encounters. Hundreds of them, all describing the same thing, the same black eyes, the same flat voices, the same desperate need for permission. Now, before I continue, I need to ask you something. If you're enjoying this story and want more content like this, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me what horror topic you want covered next. Maybe haunted asylums, skinwalkers. Let me know. And subscribe so you don't miss the next terrifying story. Your support keeps this channel alive, and I read every single comment. It means the world to me. All right, let's get back to it, because it gets so much worse. Let's talk about the details that make these encounters truly unnatural. The eyes. Witnesses say they don't just look black. They describe them as absorbing light, like black holes, like looking into something that isn't alive, too empty, too dark, too wrong. People say that staring into those eyes felt like staring into death itself, an absence, a void where something human should be. Then there are the electronic malfunctions. This detail shows up constantly. Phones suddenly lose signal. Car engines die, then start again after the children leave. Lights flicker. Batteries drain completely in seconds. Whatever these things are, they seem to affect electronics just by being near them. And the second they're gone, everything works again. Witnesses also report physical symptoms after encounters. Nosebleeds, severe headaches that last for days, nausea, crushing fatigue, sleep paralysis episodes where they wake up unable to move, sensing something standing in the room, recurring nightmares of black eyes staring through windows. Some people claim longer-term illness, though those reports are harder to verify. But the pattern is there, consistent, disturbing. These encounters happen in specific places: rural homes, isolated neighborhoods, dark parking lots, gas stations late at night, forest edges, quiet suburban streets where nobody would hear you scream. Always at night, always when the victim is alone. And here's one of the most sinister aspects: why children. Think about it. Children naturally trigger trust, sympathy, the protective instinct. We're hardwired to help kids in distress. Using the appearance of children bypasses our normal threat detection. It's the perfect disguise for a predator. But something about them feels fundamentally wrong. Witnesses use the same phrase over and over. They looked human, but they didn't feel human. That wrongness, that uncanny valley effect. Your brain recognizes the shape, the features, but something deeper, something instinctive, rejects it, sounds the alarm, screams danger. So, what are they? There are theories. None of them are comforting. Theory 1. Demonic entities. They need permission to enter, which is a classic trait in demon lore. They manipulate emotions. They produce profound psychological dread. Their black eyes resemble voids, emptiness, the absence of soul or light. Some researchers believe they're demons wearing the shape of children to gain access to homes and people. Theory 2. Interdimensional beings. Their speech patterns sound rehearsed, scripted, like actors who don't quite understand the roles they're playing. They appear and disappear without explanation. Their behavior seems designed to mimic human interaction, but misses the mark just enough to trigger revulsion. Maybe they're not from our reality. Maybe they're something that slipped through a crack. Theory 3. Alien hybrids. Those solid black eyes resemble descriptions of gray aliens. The emotionless, robotic behavior fits the pale, unusual skin. Some believe they're human alien hybrids or alien entities attempting to disguise themselves as human children and failing. Theory 4. Vampire-like entities. They need invitation to enter. They demonstrate predatory patience. They stand outside homes in darkness, waiting, never rushing. Maybe they feed on something: energy, fear, permission itself. Theory 5. Parasitic entities. Some paranormal researchers think they feed on fear or emotional energy, and that permission grants them access to more than just physical space. It opens a door to you, to your life, to something deeper. That's why they never force entry. Consent matters. Willing invitation is the key. Whatever they are, one thing is absolutely clear: they're hunting, and they're patient. Here's something creepy to think about. If you've made it this far and you're brave enough to prove you watched till the end, drop the word permission in the comments. Let's see how many of you are truly paying attention, or if you're too scared to type it. Because remember, that's all they need from you. Just that one word. Now let's talk about what happens if you actually let them in. Very few stories claim someone made that mistake, but the ones that exist are deeply, deeply unsettling. Sudden, unexplained illness. Healthy people become bedridden within days. Pets dying mysteriously. Dogs and cats were found dead with no injuries, no explanation. Paranormal activity erupting in the home. Objects moving. Shadows where there shouldn't be shadows. Voices in empty rooms. Some report shadow figures appearing afterward, standing in hallways, watching from doorways. A persistent, suffocating feeling of being watched, always. One unverified account describes a woman who let 2 children use her phone. She turned her back for just a moment to grab it. When she turned around, they were standing in her hallway, motionless, staring. She blinked and they were gone. But then she started hearing knocking from inside her walls. Slow, deliberate knocking that moved through the house. She moved out within a week and never went back. These stories are anecdotal. They're not scientifically verified, but the consistency is chilling. The same patterns, the same consequences, the same dread. Reports of black-eyed children continue today. Modern technology has added a new dimension. Doorbell cameras capturing children standing motionless at doors, staring directly into the lens. Ring camera footage showing pale figures that appear at 3 a.m. and vanish by dawn. Online forums are filled with new testimonies every month. But here's the problem with evidence. No footage clearly shows fully black eyes, low light conditions, camera compression, digital artifacts. All of it makes verification impossible. No police reports officially confirm black-eyed children. No missing persons cases, no physical evidence, no footprints, no DNA, nothing. They leave no trace. Psychology offers explanations. Our threat detection system, controlled by the amygdala, constantly scans for danger. Emotionless faces, unnatural eye appearance, lack of expected human expression. These trigger fear responses before conscious thought kicks in. It's called rapid threat detection. It evolved to keep us alive. The uncanny valley effect explains why something that looks human but feels wrong produces such intense discomfort. Your brain detects biological inconsistency and floods you with fear. That explains the terror. But does it explain the pattern? Why are reports so consistent across cultures, across decades, across continents? Why the same phrases? Why the same behavior? Why the same details from witnesses who never communicated with each other? Psychology explains the fear, but the pattern, that's harder to dismiss. Here's what makes black-eyed children truly horrifying. It's not what they do. It's what they don't do. They don't chase you. They don't break down doors. They don't attack. They don't scream or threaten violence. They just wait and they ask, politely, patiently. Your home is supposed to be safe. It's your sanctuary, your space. But they stand outside, on your porch, at your car window, at the edge of your property, knocking, waiting, asking the same question over and over. Let us in. And here's the thing almost every single witness says. They knew, with absolute bone-deep certainty. If they had opened that door, if they had said yes, if they had given permission, something irreversible would have happened. Not injury, not theft, not anything they could report to police or fix later. Something worse, something fundamental, something they could never, ever take back. If you love this channel and stories like this, I have something to tell you. The Silent Scream now has a membership. By joining, you get input on future topics. You help decide what I cover next, along with several other perks, and you support the channel directly as it grows. Your support means everything to me. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you, whether you've been here from the start or just found me today. Check the link in the description if you want to join and get those extra perks. So, are black-eyed children real? Maybe they're folklore, urban legend, mass suggestion, psychological phenomena that we don't fully understand yet. Maybe there's something we don't have words for, something that exists in the spaces between explanation and experience. But ask yourself this: if you heard a knock on your door tonight, late at night, when you weren't expecting anyone, and you looked through the peephole, and you saw two pale children standing there, perfectly still, staring up at the lens, would you open it? Would you ask what they want? Would you call the police? Would you stay silent and wait for them to leave? Because they're still being reported. Right now, this year, last month, people still encounter them on dark roads and empty parking lots and the quiet suburban streets. They're still out there, still waiting, still asking, and all they need is permission. If this story kept you up at night, smash that like button right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another terrifying tale. Drop a comment. Tell me, would you open the door? Or what horror story do you want next? Wendigos, the Hat Man. You decide. Share this with someone brave enough to handle it. And remember, don't let them in. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, because you never know who might be knocking.